Hold on. All right, now you can start.
Okay, we're starting the Park and Rec meeting, 10:14. Okay, audience of citizens, John Schmaltz, Board of Ed, you're on.
Do you mind just standing behind, just so the computer can catch it?
All right, here for two reasons, I guess. One of them is the Friendship Playground at Willard. And where this came about was, when I first came here, I noticed some of the playgrounds have signs saying, basically no trespass, section right here. Facility closed during school hours, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 3:30. But it wasn't on all our schools. And the primary concern is at the elementary schools. Some of the schools are well fenced, some of them are fenced and it doesn't totally enclose the playground area. So went to the principals, I said, I'd like to, enforce these rules of nobody on a school property. And they says, well, we have Friendship Place, parks are open, let's say 24/7, but during, sunset to never closed, so to speak, outside of hours of darkness. Last year, retired Sergeant Todd Lentini from Berlin, he's assigned to Griswold, and he had people coming to pick up the kids 45, 50 hour plus minutes ahead of time when they were sitting in the parking lot. And again, coming from a law enforcement background and, life until I got involved in education. And you're always concerned about people sitting around doing nothing, idle hands create a concern. And again, people who were there really didn't represent a problem, but if you come across a situation where somebody is a problem and you tell them, hey, you're gonna have to leave, you don't want to create a disparate impact. What are you telling me? Because, I'm this type of person that tried that. So I wanted to enforce it across all the boards with the principals. So where this came about, I was talking to Steve about it, try to find out if there's anything in black and white that says you have access to Friendship Place because it's funded through donations, from what I understand. And I'm from Cromwell, I'm on the Cromwell Park and Rec also. And it's kind of funny, in Cromwell, the Board of Ed is the Board of Ed, it's their property. Town of Cromwell is the Town of Cromwell, it's their property. And it's almost like it's a convenient excuse where that's your problem, Board of Ed. No, it's a town problem, pertaining to the athletic fields, open spaces. So in Berlin, I'm kind of learning that it's town property and the Board of Ed occupies it, have access to it. So what I was looking for pertaining to Friendship Place was to have it formally closed during school hours to prevent people from going there, because it's going to have concerns. Again, I have a lot of concerns, but I'm not concerned about a stranger coming and grabbing a kid. I do have that concern. That's more domestic related type stuff. We have a family member who convinces the kid, hey, I'm picking you up today, instead, or you got to come to me, you got to go to the doctors and take a kid off the playground or from that area. On Friendship Place, speaking to the principal over there, due to COVID, really hasn't been in use because there's nobody available to clean it last year. And when it is open, take the COVID out of it, they will use it for special ed, will go out there, some of the classes utilize it. They generally don't use it for playground activities, recess, because they only have so many recess helpers, parents to watch the kids. So it's not used on a regular basis, but used intermittently. So what I was looking for is consistency in all the schools to enforce the signage that's up there. Make the principals feel safe for schools that do not have that signage to prevent people from being on school grounds during business hours, so to speak. So that was the issue that kind of came up.
So would that include like the McGee tennis courts, basketball courts, Berlin High basketball,
Yeah.
tennis?
I mean, tell me in the academic garden, you spend it, again, thank God it's federally funded or state funded, was the protections to lock security doors, the bulletproof glasses, the vegetables, massive investment in cameras. And again, due to COVID, a lot of kids are out more so than normal going outside. Generally, usually gym classes, science classes would go outside. Now they take the mask breaks outside. Teachers are teaching outside, weather permitting, obviously. So again, you're looking to restrict the access onto school grounds when they have time. So it's everybody's equal, treated the same, whether you're at the high school trying to use the track, or you're at McGee using facilities you mentioned, or one of the elementary schools utilizing the park. And a short time in Berlin, you guys have a pretty good park system. We have other places you can go to exercise or relax, during school hours, so to speak. So the concept would be 100% compliance with the signs. And, I don't know if got forwarded here, but there's a state statute, loitering on or about school grounds. And it's, I don't even have one copy I'll pass around. basically passing misdemeanor. Person is guilty of loitering on school grounds when he loiters or remains in or about on a school, in a school building grounds and not having a reasonable relationship involving custody or responsibility of a pupil or any other license or privilege to be there. Loitering on school grounds is a Class C misdemeanor. And that's the law enforcement component that overrides municipal guidelines and, just a hierarchy of government. So that's the legal basis for putting this in place besides.
So John, you keep talking about that sign or something. Is that sign somewhere already? Do we have a sign somewhere?
There's a couple of them that, this is from Willard,
Yeah,
and this is over at the high school, more at the high school on the track and so
Okay.
forth. But all the schools, have
So-
complete signs.
so Steve, I'm seeing it now.
You guys approved those signs a couple of years ago. Steve and I were trying to pinpoint when it happened. It was a couple of years ago,
So,
when there was an issue with people walking on the track during school hours.
yeah, so the reason I'm asking that question is that, so as a town, right, as a town, is our ordinance in terms of usage of parks within a school property? That,
So the ordinance states, all parks, which includes playgrounds, basketball
Yeah.
courts, tennis courts,
School
track,
Yeah.
all parks and open space land shall be open dawn to dusk, 7 days a week, except at other times designated by the Park and Rec Commission or the Conservation Commission.
but that sign,
So we just
Doesn't
put up
say-
signs without actually. designating.
That was when Steve brought them a couple years ago and discussed it, and you guys were on board with closing the playgrounds and the track during school hours.
Right.
Only to the ordinance, it had to come to you guys.
but our ordinance doesn't say.
The ordinance says it has to come to you. You guys have to.
No,
decide.
that's not my question. Maybe I'm not.
No, the ordinance says they're open dawn to dusk unless the Park and Rec Commission says otherwise.
Okay, so that we agreed upon. I don't know when we agreed to that signage.
Right,
If that's the case, then we've already agreed that during school hours, our public grounds shall not be utilized.
right. And I think Friendship, Steve, correct me if I'm wrong. I think Friendship Place was always kind of treated differently because it was built by the Lions, it was built
So,
for doing.
When the signs were purchased 3 years ago from Vital Signs, we put it at all access points getting onto any school grounds throughout the town of Berlin. It's been at Friendship Place since we agreed to put up the signs. As of last year, there was some concerns of certain people not wanting to enforce what the sign said, and there was some pushback. As that question came further and further and further, and that security guard is no longer there, the new security guard, John have looked into exactly what this policy is, which then we stumbled across the town ordinance that states that the Park and Rec Commission oversees all of these properties and has to make a motion to adopt that all playgrounds and passive recreation inside school grounds needs to be closed during the school hours operations. That's where we are today.
But
Sorry.
Steve,
Sorry if I was too loud.
but Steve, did we not already do that based on the signs that are being posted at those locations today?
No, we approved the sign as a detour to prevent the 20 or 30 people that were walking around the track or the group of people that were coming to play basketball. We put it up more as a detour, not as something to be enforced.
So officially, legally, because it's by the ordinance, we have to recommend in an ordinance, that ordinance has to change. So that legally, the security people or police can take people off those parks during school hours, if we so choose. The thing that I have a question on is, we need a definition of school grounds, and I only say that because it can be pretty big, I mean, McGee is vast. So what does that entail? Do we need to take a look at what definition of school grounds is?
No, I'm gonna answer both your questions. The first thing is the ordinance does not have to change. The ordinance allows you to change the hours of the playgrounds. The ordinance doesn't change. The ordinance just says you have the right to change the hours of what is open. So you're just following the ordinance by making a motion that playgrounds on school grounds are shut down during school hours. The definition you need is park. Park means any developed or improved piece of real property or any portion thereof owned by the town, which is all school grounds are owned by the town, that is used primarily for active recreational, sporting, or ceremonial activity that requires active maintenance. The definition of a park shall include, but not be limited to, ball fields, golf courses, tennis and basketball courts, pools, playgrounds, schoolyards, civic and military monuments, picnic pavilions, and recreational ponds.
Right.
So Friendship Place does fall under that.
Honestly, I always, since I moved to this town, I always thought that you couldn't go on the school property during school
Honestly, I
hours.
always thought the same thing.
Yeah, I didn't realize that that was happening.
So if we have to formalize it up, that's.
That's what I think, yeah, it's an easy decision.
So, and
So,
again,
I guess, I'm just, if I can, just, so school, but again, the wording that we want then for the Park and Rec Commission, or the wording that's being requested, is that we would agree to close down any park, schoolyard, whatever, track, whatever, within school grounds, with any school grounds owned by the town of Berlin.
school ground.
Yeah,
During-
parks,
during- Right, inside of a school ground. What I'm just saying is,
Right, you're not closing Little People's Park.
right, you're closing parks
You're
on
not closing
school grounds.
Timberland.
You don't have to say schoolyards or playgrounds. You say park, it encompasses everything in that definition I
Yeah.
just read.
no,
So
yeah,
you
I
guys
know.
wanna vote on parks on school grounds.
Okay.
That covers everything.
Do we need a definition of what is school ground? Like, I don't know what school ground
No.
means because, well, okay, tell me what school ground means. How far does it go for Willard? We have the soccer fields. Does it include the soccer fields? I assume so. Does it go up to the stream on
So-
the right-hand side?
Yes,
And as
on
far as the fence?
On the GIS, Willard School is the whole footprint of Willard School. It's
There is,
from the
so we
river-
can if we needed to, Steve, we could reference school grounds refers to the map schematic of each of the schools within Berlin. Is that,
Correct.
in case there's a question? That's all I'm
Right.
saying.
The only exception is Gary and Puccini, which we consider being on school grounds, technically does not lie within school grounds. That's the only two that don't pertain to this.
Then those wouldn't be closed, right?
We would encompass them into it because the school uses it.
Okay, but see, that's what I'm saying. So it's a little more confusing because it's not, you don't consider it a part of school grounds, but someone else might. And that's what I'm saying. We need maybe a definition, so can I ask, and maybe what, to move this along, that perhaps Steve, Jen, John, you look at the wording and you propose wording for us to adopt, and hopefully you could accept that we would, vote on it at the next meeting. But, let's put some wording together for us to take a look at. And we could discuss this during our meeting. I realize this is just audience of citizens, but we're gonna need some official wording before we actually vote on it.
I think, Steve alluded to the GIS. I'm not familiar with all the schools, looking at them all, so I can't speak for all of them. But I think that GIS map will identify your schoolyards as dictated in your policy. 1311.
Right, but John, I think what Steve just brought up though is like, you want to include Pulcini and the other
Gary.
field because those are considered part of Griswold, but not really. Officially, they're not part of that map.
Right.
Right, so that's what I'm saying. We're gonna need some wording. That's all. I guess that's my request.
The baseball field.
Yeah.
Baseball.
You actually drive into the schoolyard and then you go to the left.
Hey, it's Greg. If it comes to Fulcini and Garrity,
I agree.
can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
So if it comes to Garrity and Fulcini, can't you just say what you said in addition to those two fields because they use them during the day? I mean,
Yeah, that's
I
what I
mean,
was just saying, John. That was,
Okay.
I was just saying the same thing.
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, so Donna, I agree with you. I think if we can get some better language on that from somebody that then give us some time to think that through.
Just to make you sure that you guys all agree that you've included everything that you want included in this request
From the Board of Ed.
from us.
Right, but
From the Board
this
of
is
Ed
coming
with
from the board-
Steve, right, that's right.
Right, this
That's
coming
right,
from the Board of Ed, this request is coming from the Board of Ed, right, John?
Yeah, but also work with Steve, because Steve knows a little bit more maybe than what John's familiar with, because he's fairly
Yeah.
new and, yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
That's fine.
Yep, he said yes, Donna.
okay, great. All right. John, anything else? Does that work for you? Well, you're all set, right?
Yeah, on that one, then I got one other one for you.
Right, so is that Warren, under Warren Adams?
No,
no,
this
that-
is John.
Oh,
has
you
one
have another request. Okay, go
Came
ahead.
up today.
Yeah, I was kind of
Wow.
shallow in my description. I was emailing Jen over the
Okay.
past week. For the homecoming dance, it's going to be on the practice ball field just south of the tennis courts. For electrical power, there's outlets on the north side of the tennis courts, so they have to run industrial extension cords through the tennis courts, through the fence, to power the DJ and the lights that would be inside the tent. So we're looking to close the basketball court and the tennis courts from about 6:30 till, it's gonna be dusk anyways, till 9 o'clock. For that reason, and also the secondary concern from the administration from the school, I say administration, mainly me, is you don't want to, other kids who aren't allowed to attend, who are outside guests, who are not from the community, from harassing the kids or passing off contraband to them. Again, just going back to when I was in school, somebody's passing, little nip bottles of alcohol, because they got to do a breathalyzer test to get in there. And it's going to be staff working, but just to eliminate a concern to keep people away from it doesn't belong, so it doesn't interfere with the kids. Because this is really outside of their first homecoming in 2 years. And again, they moved it outside to get more kids involved, attending. So just trying to separate the two for 2.5 hours, so to speak.
Okay, so if I could just ask a question. So just a couple of things. I think it's great that you're trying to do something for the kids for homecoming. That area that you're talking about is fairly wet. So if it rains, it's going to be pretty wet.
Yeah,
And-
the administration's aware of that. I'm kind of hoping, number one, it doesn't rain, because I was out there today, it is a moist field. Hopefully the tent will, in the crown of the field, will minimize that problem. But the school is telling them for a dance, it's not gonna be the typical dress code with young ladies wearing heels and fancy shoes to kind of dress. Casual dress is the attire. So hopefully it won't be muddy under the tent if it does rain, and the rain that falls outside the tent would follow the pitch of the contour away
Right.
from it. It's understood. You may ruin your shoes if it's a rainy day or raining prior to that, but the tent is going up
Right, when's the homecoming dance?
the 23rd.
So the tent's gonna be up a week in advance.
But the utility field is the upper one, not the lower one, correct?
When you say upwards to it.
There's 2 utility fields at high school.
The practice field where the Connex trailers are.
The practice field or something.
I'm
He
sorry.
was answering.
Say, Steve?
Where the Connex trailers are,
Right, the upper one, not the lower one.
the upper.
So the upper one, Donna, actually has better drainage than the lower one.
It does, yeah.
So-
And then just out of curiosity, are you touching base with the neighbors? We've gotten complaints, not necessarily this year, but in past years, about noise from the basketball courts. And not that the basketball courts then, as long as the commission agrees, we would shut them down for that. I don't see a reason why not. But the neighbors there may get upset unless they're
Donna,
forewarned.
Donna,
Yeah,
this is Commissioner Lignani. They've already came to the zoning, Planning and Zoning Commission.
yeah,
And they were already apprised of that situation as well, of possible noise complaints. So,
okay. Have the neighbors been forewarned?
I'm not sure that's,
Yeah.
it's a good thing to bring up, but it's also something that we brought up, that my commission, Planning and Zoning brought up, just letting you know.
Okay, thank you. Yeah,
Yep, you're welcome.
okay.
I think the hardest thing he's gonna do, Steve, is to turn off the basketball lights, right? Aren't those on timers?
They plan on leaving, they want the lights on the tennis
Oh,
courts and the basketball court
They do.
to keep the peripheral lit up.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense, but that's just gonna want people to come play.
I mean, you have to
I think probably the hardest thing is security, right? How to secure from both
Yeah.
sides. You could get people entering on the backside through Centerelli coming up. Again, if you're concerned about outsiders, but I assume you're gonna take care of that. So your request of us is to shut down the basketball and tennis courts from the public for that period of time. Is that correct?
Yeah, from about 6:30 till 9 o'clock. Because
Okay.
9 o'clock will be closing time.
Okay.
So yeah, 2.5 hours. basically.
Okay,
How are you gonna accomplish that? Shutting it down, you're gonna lock the gates and
Yeah, I mean, we'll go out there,
signs?
security go out there ahead of time saying, hey, half hour, we're closing. So we're just not kicking people off in the middle of their game. And 6:30, you gotta leave and just lock it and unlock it at 9 o'clock.
You should put some signs up, maybe a couple days before, if you can put some signs up
Yeah.
that it will be closed.
Yeah,
I
that's-
agree. Yeah,
Tennis, you could just
on the
walk in.
website.
Yeah.
Basketball, I think, tennis, you just walk through the fence, there's no doors to.
Right.
yeah. The other thing is protection of those courts. So will there be police there from the town? I assume so.
I didn't catch that, I'm sorry.
Will there be police at
Yes.
these? Okay. The
Yes.
one thing that we need to make sure is that those tennis courts and basketball courts are well protected and that no one can enter those courts.
Now, they're gonna be closed off areas. So the only thing, people beyond them was, running the extension cords from point A to point B. The tennis courts are closed. The kids were used to the walkway, be escorted to the restrooms on the backside of the high school and escorted back inside by staff members. So nobody's gonna be on the basketball courts. Everybody's gonna be within the tent contained area. And again, school staff would deal with the issues underneath the tent. Security would be the outer perimeter, so to speak, keep the kids in and keep the wolves out, I guess. I don't know. Away from the sheep.
Yeah, okay. All right. Any other questions from any commissioner or staff? Okay, thanks, John. We'll take action. We'll talk about that during our meeting then. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
I'll
John.
Thank you.
shoot you an email tomorrow.
All right, and I dealt with your grounds guys a couple of times, like at the football fields, and they've been, I don't know the names unfortunately, but I asked them to do something, it was done. They didn't have to follow up with them. I've been working with Steve for 2 years, and he's an exceptional employee, just public forum, and his accolades are well deserved along with his staff. So,
Thank you.
That was Steve.
It's nice to hear. That's awesome. Thanks for saying that. Well deserved. Yep.
Thanks, John. I'll pass it on to the guys.
See you
Okay.
later, John.
Thank you very much, John. All right. Warren Adams there?
Yes, he's here, Don.
Go ahead, Warren.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Warren Adams. I'm a speech pathologist at Berlin High School in special education, but I'm also the class of 2025 freshman advisor for our class. The reason why I'm here tonight is because we're proposing at the homecoming dance to hold a concession stand. The purpose of the concession stand is to sell bottled drinks and prepackaged snacks, which include chips and candy bars, to raise money for our freshman class. The snacks and drinks will be priced at $1 each, and all that money, the profits will go to a fund for the freshman class for future events, including things down the road, junior and senior year prom, and things like that. Again, just I think it's a good thing for the kids too. Freshmen are pretty excited about it. Just hope it can be approved for homecoming.
And thanks, Warren. And where would it be set up?
So it'd be set up,
Physical-
yeah, it'd be set up right in the location, right around the where the tent where the dance floor is. I don't think it would be underneath the tent. They're trying to make a separate location outside of it. Still trying to figure that out, but I could probably touch base with John and see where they want to set it up.
So I see at the consent agenda, and Steve or Jen, you can help me here. It says that you're gonna sell it at Biscoglio Auxiliary Field. I always think of Biscoglio to be inside the track. Is it outside the track as well? Because I don't want
Biscoglio
them.
Field, the Biscoglio Field is the field inside the track. This is the auxiliary field, which is where the dance is.
Okay, so it's called Biscoglio Auxiliary Field, where the dance is gonna be, the upper field there.
Mhm.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Good night.
Warren, I.
Thanks very much.
All right, thanks. a
Should
lot,
be-
Jack.
Thank you, Warren. And we'll touch base when we get to the consent agenda. Okay, Jim Mahoney. Good to see you, Jim.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Good, Jim,
Good.
thanks.
Good, good. So, yeah, the Pistol Creek cart paths, a couple of years ago, we repaved about a third of the area and added the handicapped space and also changed the grades on a section to make it handicapped accessible. And there's the recreational trails grant that we used in the past to fund the first phase. They have an RFP out for that grant now. So what we're planning on doing is applying for another grant. And we think like within that program, probably it's reasonable to ask for about 100,000. So we're gonna ask for $100,000. And it requires a 20% match, which we're planning on taking from payment in lieu of open space and do another third of the trails. So we're working from east to west. So this will be kind of the middle section. And then hopefully in the future, we can finish it off. The part on the western side, kind of more towards Spruce Brook, is in tougher shape because drainage issues down there and such. So a lot of that probably will need a little bit more reconstruction. So, and the middle section is a little better. And so that's our plan. As part of the grant application process, we needed to do, public outreach. We did send out some notifications about this meeting. So I don't know if there's anybody in the public that has any comments or anybody has any questions.
I don't see anyone.
Nobody showed up.
Nobody's here.
Okay. So obviously we want the commission to also support the project, hopefully, right?
Hey, Jim, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Is this the long-term, plan for Pistol Creek? We're just gonna leave it the way it is as a walking place? Like we're not.
I don't think there's first of all, there's not a deed restriction for the property. So the town can change its plan. Obviously, we know that, it's now used for the walking trail. I assume it's still used for like McGee Cross Country, things like that.
Yep.
And, there were proposals for other uses, soccer fields, that hasn't gained any momentum at this point. But, I think that for the foreseeable future, as far as I know, that's the plan.
Right, and so Jim, just one thing, in fact, tonight, the ordinance committee is meeting on animal leash ordinance. And people have talked about the dog park, which currently the unleashed dog park, I say that in quotes because it's really not an unleashed dog park, but they use up bicentennial. And there has been a proposal, or at least talked about, that the lower field at Pistol Creek could be, one area that they use for an unleashed dog park. I'm not sure where that's going to go. From our commission standpoint, we took a position and we sent it to the ordinance committee along with some other recommendations, which they have tonight because they hadn't met since July. And I don't, because we're in our meeting, I'm not even sure what they're going to vote on tonight. I did ask them to just vote on one piece of the action before the election, but I think any discussion about use of a unleashed dog park of Pistol Creek wouldn't be decided tonight anyway by the ordinance committee, but who knows? So.
Well, a couple of things. One is that the town council has authorized us to submit this application. So they're aware, and the park and the Conservation Commission endorsed the project at their meeting on Tuesday night. So if ultimately there's some kind of change in use, the last time we applied for a second phase previously. And when we did, at that time, the soccer field was proposed.
Yeah.
So
Right,
we came up with a way to reroute the cart paths and build a new section and kind of cut it off So, from the west, cut the east off from the west a little bit, segregate it. If we, so that plan still could be implemented if somebody comes up, if it's approved for some other use. But right now, the game plan is continue on with the cart pass as far, I think everything I hear is they're very popular.
Yep.
Well used for lots of purposes, we have all these hiking trails, but these are the ones that are paved, so people that need paved pass, or they're, bringing your kids for a little bike ride or whatever the case, pushing a stroller, don't have to worry about traffic. This is the place.
Right, and I use it all the time.
Right.
It's wonderful. So, and there is a lot of activity down there. Okay, thanks. Hey, where's the grant? Is it from the state of Connecticut?
It would be state of Connecticut, right? I think they're
Okay.
federal, they do get some federal funds, so it could be a pass through.
Yeah.
But, directly to us would be through the state of Connecticut, yes.
And so the process would be to apply for the state grant, then it takes some time, and then you go out
Right.
to bid and,
Right.
okay,
We'd have to,
Okay.
decide whether
And-
we're gonna design, what we need for design. We did the previous project, so we have a pretty good handle on it, so.
Yeah.
We'll have, if we get the grant, we'll probably use our own money to start and finish, get the design, the bid specs and bid it like, as we did last time.
okay. And then, any other questions from the commissioners or concerns?
Nope.
No,
Do you need me to hang in for the meeting part, or are you set with me?
I don't think so. I think Jen can let you know. I'll ask for a general consensus from the commissioners. Is there any concerns about supporting this? I'm okay with supporting it, but we'll officially vote during the meeting, but if there is any concern, maybe this is the time to voice that.
I think we're in good shape, Donna. He can leave.
Yeah, I think just supporting it is all you need to do, because it's already been
Yeah.
approved by council, so you don't
Okay.
it doesn't even need to go on an agenda for voting.
Right, so we'll take that official step and have it in the minutes, Jim, and whatever else you need then, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right, hey,
Thank
Jim,
you.
Thanks, Jim.
Yes.
Jim,
Yes,
Jim.
yes,
so
yes,
while you're on though,
yes,
Senior Community Center, right?
yeah.
So I would really personally like to talk to you, and if it's okay, I'll give you a call separately.
Sure.
But there's a lot of good things going. There's a lot of other things, slowing down and all that kind of stuff, but grants are going to be very important for this project, so I'll give you a call, okay?
Okay, Jen has given me a heads up, and we were thinking, your December meeting, but happy, just give me a call, we can talk about it.
That'd be great. Okay,
Good.
all right,
Thank
thanks so
you.
much. Yeah.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so with that, can I have a motion to accept the minutes that were put forward to everybody of our last meeting?
I make a motion.
I'll make
to accept the minutes from last meeting.
I'll second
Okay,
it.
thank you. Any further discussion on the minutes that were sent? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And for Andrew, you weren't there, right? So,
I vote in abstention, abstain.
okay. Okay, I'm hearing feedback. Are you guys all set?
No, I can't see.
Go ahead,
Okay,
John.
you're all, okay,
Okay,
All
I'll
right.
make a motion to accept the consent agenda number 8, letter A. excuse me.
thank you. Second,
Dinesh,
any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor to accept the consent agenda? Item?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, all set with that. Takes care of Warren. Okay, I apologize. For some reason, I'm not able to pull up my agenda anymore for some reason. I don't know why, but so,
well, before we get there, do you want to vote on the basketball courts while we're still in consent? Do you want to
Okay.
add that?
all right, that's fair enough. So the request was to close the high school basketball and tennis courts for certain hours I'll say to be agreed to by Parks and Rec with the Board of Education to support the homecoming dance on October 23rd. Can I have a motion to that effect?
I'll make a motion, Donna, I'll make a motion for that.
Second?
Second.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you. Any discussion?
Plug in the date and time.
yeah, yep. I think it's the right thing to do, right? We just gotta figure out how they're gonna close off and lock it up. Steve, is there a lock on the basketball court?
So they're expecting somewhere between 500 and 600 people. I don't think anybody's gonna have access to the basketball courts or the tennis courts. And to barricade and block off those basketball and tennis courts, you're looking at probably 6 to 8 sheets of plywood, chain, locks,
You know, he talked
countless
about,
hours of
John
man
talked
hours.
about just caution tape, he would do.
Oh, I didn't hear John say that.
Yeah.
Never mind, never mind.
That was very
You
helpful.
mentioned, because I said there's nothing at the tennis
Yeah.
court, but they can just put it to put it.
Oh,
across.
okay.
Yeah.
Never mind.
I don't think they'll have enough people on site to monitor.
Especially if the lights are on, they'll be able to see everything.
I don't know if anybody else on Zoom can hear. I couldn't necessarily hear what was being just said.
I said, never mind.
I heard I'm sorry, I heard never mind. I don't know, was Debbie or Jen? someone
Debbie
else?
said there was caution tape, that John mentioned the caution tape, but I did not hear that.
Okay, all right, okay. Thank you. Okay, all in favor of the motion? Say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that passes. Let's go on to Parks and Grounds. And we can then go back to John's other comment about at least discuss it, but, okay, Parks and Grounds, go ahead.
Pretty much everything is spelt out there in the narrative, exactly what we've done in our monthly report. The biggest thing is since we've been flooded, we've been taking our whole entire shop and we've probably spent the better part of 2 weeks of taking everything out of our offices, everything out of our lunchroom, moving that into 2 40-foot storage containers where we're now working out of storage containers. Last week, they came in and they remediated the shop Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, took all the insulation, all the sheetrock, and anything that had mold in it, and they've gotten rid of that. This week, facilities spent the better part of the week putting up plywood, trim, and molding to try to put it back as best as they possibly could, and they did an awesome job. Tomorrow, a company is coming in to deep clean and sanitize from where all the raw sewage came into the shop and try to pressure wash and sanitize it. Comes with that is taking everything that's in our shop and putting it on trailers and shipping that to another location. So basically the whole entire month of September and the beginning part of October, and it's going to continue for some time, has been relocating our offices, our lives, our lunchrooms, our stuff and everything. It's been crazy, and facilities and everybody has done a great job assisting us, and guys have done a great job of being able to mobilize the different areas and not be used to it. The portable restrooms, because our restrooms were down, so we had portable restroom trailers on site where the guys couldn't use the bathrooms inside, so they were using porta potties outside. It's just been absolutely crazy.
You have good
Can I
wash
just
stations? Ha,
interrupt you?
ha, ha.
What happened?
I didn't know anything
I
about
I have
It was
no
that
idea
storm
what,
we had.
what.
That
the findings
big
were.
storm where we got a ton of rain,
it. Yeah,
the
It's
2
flooded.
shops completely flooded.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
We ended up with like 18 inches of water in our shop.
Wow.
From, where is it coming from?
It comes up from the backside of the river. So when the river raises by where Friendly's is along Mysterio Drive, that comes up,
Yeah.
and then everything flows back into the shop. And actually, believe it or not, our shop floods from the inside out, and then it comes up through our toilets. Then it comes up through the sewer, and then it's just a mess. If I can
Wow.
find a picture, I'll send it out to you. guys.
I got it, I'm pulling it up right now.
Okay.
So this happened,
Oh my God.
during, which storm? Was it around Labor Day or
I want to say it was right before Labor Day.
right before
yeah, it
Labor
was
Day?
the end of August, right?
Wow, I didn't, look at that picture. Holy crap.
So now the big picture is they're going to try to rebuild the shop to the 100-year flood plan. So they're going to put that out to bid. They're hoping sometime in April or May of next year to start the construction. So we're possibly going to be living out of these storage trailers, which are extremely beneficial and they're awesome. probably till sometime next year.
That was the same storm that flooded out the underpass. and
Oh,
yeah.
flooded
Yes.
all that.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Oh my God, I
Underpass
didn't
is
know
not
that
supposed to
happened.
flood anymore.
Yeah. Well, the pumps weren't on.
No, I know.
I didn't know that happened.
So that
All right,
concludes
sorry.
the Parks and Grounds
All right.
report. A lot of
Okay,
water.
any questions of Steve? Okay, thanks.
Well, I don't know
Oh,
where to
go
start.
ahead, Tony.
I guess I'll let it
Okay.
go. I don't know where to start, but I guess I'll let it go. It's just surprising to hear that. So, I mean, as like, you know, the communication part of things should, not that it matters, but shouldn't we at least get a note from somebody that says this happened? I mean, I'm sitting here being told about all this work that's being done, but I had no idea that there was an incident that even occurred.
That was probably an oversight on my part. It just never, we've never informed anybody when it's happened. It's
Yeah.
always been that the way we've done it for 20 years is the water comes up, the water goes out, we clean the floor, and then we go at it. And then we just go back to our normal lives. But in today's day and age of the way they are with mold and respiratory problems and everything else, it's just a whole new regime of getting the proper sterilization companies in it, the proper cleaning companies in it. It's just, we've never gone down this road, and with
Yeah.
Bosnia and Doug and everybody where they are. So it's definitely an oversight on my part, and I apologize.
Thanks.
Okay. Item B, the revision of policy. I'm just gonna say, so I haven't taken a look of what Jen sent around. I don't know if it incorporated any new wording in it since our last discussion at the last meeting.
No, I just sent around, you guys said you wanted to take a minute to look at everything Tony had sent and discuss at this meeting, so I just resent what Tony submitted 2 months ago for refresher.
Okay, and then at the last meeting, we had a couple of thoughts, some people brought up and so,
They were supposed to tell them.
let me just, I don't
Nothing was
think,
voted on, so I didn't change anything.
Yeah, so, yeah, you're right, Donna, there were a couple of things that were brought up
Right.
that last meeting, but whoever brought those up, I think they were supposed to send Tony the document, they were supposed to send Tony the updates they want.
well, honestly, I know I brought up a couple of things. One was, and it was in the minutes, the documentation. I didn't realize I was supposed to send Tony wording on that, so, but it is in the minutes. I thought the minutes really identified everything. I don't know if there's anything missing, but like one was, you know, we talked about background checks, whether or not that's going too far, but at least we said we need to have something in there that talked about a person needs to be of good character. And I actually, I think, provided the wording for that, but
Okay, so you want me to?
I gave a
to take-
definition.
You want me to take these minutes and just kind of incorporate them into a revised
Yes.
policy? Okay.
Thank you. That would be great. And then, Tony, I know I had the definition. And again, I'm in Utah, so I don't remember if the minutes actually gave the definition that I gave at the meeting, but I have it at home. So I get home at the end of October, the 26th. I can send you that wording at that
Okay.
point. Okay? All right. But
Yep.
as people have reviewed this, are there any other comments to bring out during this time? Okay, so I don't hear anything, so I'm gonna assume, so Tony, if I could ask you, take a stab at revising it to include the comments from our last meeting. And then let's send it out, and then people, we can once again review it. I don't think it's anything to rush on unless someone else has, other thoughts, please bring them forward. But maybe we could take one last stab at it at our next meeting, which would be November, right? And then perhaps in December, make it effective January 1 or thereabouts, or recommend to the council to make it effective in January, and go with the revised wording. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yep.
Okay, all right. Okay, thanks very much. Percival Soccer, any update, Steve?
Steve and I met today and we are starting to take a look at our old design RFP, and we plan to hopefully get that out by the end of the year so we can start. We just want to look through our old design RFP, and we want to look through everything that they did in the design last year when we hired somebody and really go through it with a fine tooth comb to make sure our new RFP has everything in it that we want, and make sure we do it right. So we're working on that slowly and surely.
And so it would go out, let's just assume that you go through it and it goes out. Then the bidding would be in the spring for fall time? Is that what we're,
And Steve, you're talking about when we would do construction?
Yeah, no, design services would probably go out to bid sometime after the first of the year. We'd get that back sometime in March. And then, or we'd close the bid and go back out to bid for the construction of Percival Pool, Percival Soccer. Sometime probably, what do you think, Jen, May or June? And then hopefully with any luck, start the work if enough money is allocated, probably in the fall of 2022, I think is the timeline we're looking at.
okay,
Which we're being very transparent that we know that we're going to lose the fall season. If we're going to put almost $500,000 into a soccer field, we're not going to put lay sod down in the middle of June. We'd rather put it in the fall time like we did with Zipadelli and Sage 1. It's just a better germination rate. And it's going to give us a longer lasting stability than what we would get if we did it in June with the heat of August and July.
right. And this is a complete redo of Percival Soccer.
That's what we're going to propose. And we're going to go more towards an athletic field design than we are to a general design. With the last guy, we think went too far outside of the box and didn't spend enough time on the meat and potatoes.
Okay. Greg, I know you've been involved. I just want to make sure, are you up to date? You okay? Any thoughts?
No, it is, I'm sitting here, it is what it is. You know, I mean, we've got to get it done, and if this is the best way to do it, that's fine. I mean, you know, we're gonna lose the field while they do the work on it, so if we get, like Steve and Jen said, if we can get what we need to get done, then I think that's the most important thing. You know, would I like to have it done last year? Yeah, it didn't happen, so we'll just go forward and with a plan, and actually a plan run by Jen and Steve always comes in under budget and on time.
So
Anyway.
I will throw the monkey wrench into this. Thanks for the kind words, but if the Biscoglio money comes available, Jen and I think that running two major projects in these area of $3 million in the same 9 months is going to be extremely stressful. So at that time, we will pick which one we think it makes the most sense to move forward with, because if we close the track for construction for synthetic turf, we need to have a home for those people to go as well. We can't close two full-size fields during our busiest time of the year. I'm sorry, Jen, if I overstepped.
That's fine, that makes sense, I understand.
Well, we'll get to that.
They can go
We
up.
have to get the money from the state
They go
first, so
up.
we're not gonna worry about that yet.
They go
Right.
up.
And the only thing that I would ask on the soccer field, just like you've done for past, like for softball, is to make sure, include the soccer group through Greg. I'm sure he can facilitate that. Just to make sure that there's, you know, everything's covered, nothing missing, any thoughts they have, just before you finalize everything, okay?
Yep.
Okay,
All right, thank you. Any other questions, concerns? Thanks for the update. Okay, Sage Park.
I am going to read you an email from Doug Solik from Facilities. He had a site visit yesterday and spoke with the contractor. The update is as follows. Painting is ongoing and scheduled for completion by the end of this week. The partition installs are scheduled for next week. The plumbing fixtures are scheduled to ship out the end of next week. Tentative plumbing fixtures install week of 10/25 upon receipt. Hopeful this project will be completed by the end of the month pending receipt of remaining plumbing items. That's it.
Okay. And I don't know, Jen, Steve, you're all set with that. You didn't have any follow-up with Doug or anybody? That's it?
It's
No-
pretty much
no
out
com-
of Jen. It's out of our hands. There's nothing we can do. We can't expedite getting the fixtures here. The floor and the walls and everything looks great.
Yeah.
We're going into the next 10 days of our life at Sage Park is going to be absolutely insane. And this could not happen at a worse time of them not being done. With
Right,
the
right.
invitational, with football, with the cross country, it's absolutely insane.
Hey, can I just ask you a general question? These bathrooms, they're not altogether that large, right? I mean, would you
Correct.
consider them to be large bathrooms?
No,
How long does it take to paint 4 walls in a bathroom?
it's an industrial strength epoxy. The floor is being completely stripped. It's gonna have an inch and a half. of
Wasn't
epoxy
this started
layer
in
on top of
August?
it.
It
Go ahead.
was started in August, right?
Yep, and they didn't start painting them to this week.
We can't speak on how the other department runs it. Unfortunately.
Can I just go on the record and express my extreme disappointment with this entire project being done at this time and in this fashion?
Not an issue. It should be in the minutes. Yep.
I hear you, Tony. It's.
We've been
Everybody's
through
fired
it.
up
We
about it.
understand, we don't understand why it was done this way and the timing and all that. Understand the supply issues, and the communications was extremely poor between the departments and to the commission. And especially to you, Tony.
How many
as booster president.
student athletes are gonna be at Sage Park on Saturday for the McGee Cross Country Invitational?
Yeah.
There's usually like 25 schools. Yeah, that come with their parents and their coaches and their
Students.
whatever, grandparents. All come at the same time,
Right.
right?
See, that's right.
Is that your grand?
I think Steve summarized it well. The next 10 days, maybe longer, are gonna be really tough. And, you know, I'm asking, and I'm sure it's already in place, Steve. Oh, and my granddaughter's here, so everybody say hi to Brady.
Hello.
There's Brady. Say
Hey,
hi.
Brady.
Hey, Brady, how are you?
Yeah, she's a big sister now. So, but in any event, Jen, Steve, you know, we really need you guys to, and I know you'll step up, but if there's any issue, even
Well, it's not-
on the
it's not
cautious
them.
side,
They're not-
to get back
they're
to our
not handling
commission,
it.
please do.
It's
Yeah,
whoever,
we can provide the updates that we get from facilities. That's what we can do. And
is there no board or commission that supervises the facilities department when they're working on buildings of this nature?
I think, but
I
I don't
believe,
know if they're involved.
yeah, I believe facilities falls
I think
under
they just
the
approve
Somebody
it.
has to
public
approve it.
building, but I'm not sure.
So Tony, maybe what we need to do is, once this is all over with, and I don't know if this is even possible or not, but maybe the folks that were involved with the project need to come in front of us. It's our park and rec, right? It's our park, is it not?
Yeah.
And don't we have oversight of that park?
But the facility, the building falls under the facilities.
We have
department.
no, there's
And
no,
it just, yeah.
there's no.
I ran into the same, Tony, I ran into the same.
Lessons learned, go back and look at lessons learned from both sides, Park and Rec, facilities, how we could do it better, how do you prevent it from happening again?
We're supposed to be
Regardless of
doing
where it
better
might be.
already.
I mean, we made our recommendation of not to do it during this season. That's what we did as a park and rec, you know, from a park and rec standpoint, but in
Just
the
the
end,
fact
it's not our
that, just the
project.
fact that the project was started in August, 3
And-
weeks
and-
before the start of the sports season.
That's right.
And now you're giving the report saying that they started painting last week. And they're hoping to get parts delivered the end of next week. It seems bizarre to me. I mean, I've been driving by there, you know, and I see trucks there all the time. Vans parked there, whatever. I mean, they don't seem to be, it's not a room that's bigger than this. I mean,
There's only a couple stalls in each.
I think,
Right,
Don,
so
your
let's
recommendation
move
is a
on,
good
yeah.
one.
Let's move on.
move on.
It's a good one. We'll have a meeting with both facilities include in our commission meeting, kind of go through lessons learned and how do we prevent this going forward. But in the meantime, again, appreciate you guys keeping us informed. As things come up, please get an email out to the whole commission, especially Tony. Just with any heads up. Okay,
With a star next to the
It's
name.
not just me, Donna, I would hope that, not just as a representative, resident and taxpayer, to be astonished by the way this is being handled. I mean, I'm just a regular guy, I'm not, and I still can't believe it. Every time I go there and use a portable toilet,
I hear you.
I'm shocked. And the fact that no matter how much of complaining that I may have done, it has made not one iota of difference of anything at all. So that says to me, the government in Berlin is like a giant gorilla that just won't move.
Half the people in the woods.
I think more should have been done before, and whether it was me or others being more forceful, that's probably what it should have been done. And for that, I'll apologize for whatever I didn't do, but I think we'll go through it and we'll invite the town manager and we'll go forward. And again, prevent this from ever happening again. The project was an embarrassment, no doubt. So, okay. Moving ahead, State of Connecticut grant update.
So I touched base with Kevin this morning or yesterday, actually. So the contact that he had in the department that was handling it, and I, lightly quote handling it, has transferred to another department. So now his contact is the department head of that department, who has not gotten back to him. So he reports no progress as of now.
So I'm sorry, so it transferred within the state to a different department?
No, the person who was in charge of it transferred to another department. So the person
No backup.
the person that Kevin somewhat had a rapport with is now not in that department anymore. So the new person in
okay.
that department is not getting any feedback.
Yeah. All right. Well, again, that's where, Kevin, Arosh, they can go to our representatives, maybe try and help push this along. So Jen, can I just ask
Can we
you?
say that I would assume that
They-
Joe Simowitz must be having some
Yes,
interest in this?
Kevin has made numerous requests to Joe. I believe Adam Selena has been involved. I believe a couple other people have made calls to the state, all to no progress.
Because,
It's not for lack of trying.
So Joe, Joe's kind of out of it, right, as speaker? But I mean, no, he knows people, but we've got Donna Veach and we've got Kathy Abercrombie and you got Lopes, our state senator. So hopefully Kevin's going to those three people to push this along.
I don't know. I don't know who he's gone to. I know he's
Okay,
gone to.
so Jen, can I ask you to please, and maybe you can report back to the commission, that, we would request, and if it would help, our commission will get in contact separately then with our two representatives in state senate. We'll need the specifics of what's holding, if there's anything they can do to push things along. And if Kevin's already talked to them, if he wants us to talk to them directly, we can do that as well. I realize, there's bureaucracy and all that kind of stuff, but we're willing to do whatever we can do to help this out, move it along, okay?
Yep.
Hey, Donna, it's Greg. Listen, this is like, it goes into a black hole and nothing ever happens. And it's most unfortunate. I mean, somebody's got to be responsible at the state that we can talk to and get a decent answer from. I mean, this is ridiculous. How long has this gone on for? And it's just like a black hole. There's got to be somebody there that has responsibility. Where's the manager that Jen's trying to get a hold of? We just need to get somebody to get an answer from them. I don't know who that person is, but I got nothing to do. Anyway.
Well, yeah, no, that's fine. But I also, I will tell you, I think Kevin, our finance director at the town. He does a fairly good job about keeping apprised of this. And if he's the one that is our representative from our town to get in touch with the state, I'm sure he's trying to push this as quickly as he can as an individual from the town. I just think that maybe more people could help him and support that. I don't think it's a matter of our town falling down, unless Jen, you know something else?
I've
No,
said
it's-
all I know.
Yeah, okay, all right. Okay. All right, so Jen, if you can send that message and let the commission know what they would like us, they being Arosh and Kevin, would like us to do, if anything, specifically to move this forward.
Yep.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, Parks and Rec, Deb.
Have a good night.
I don't have any
Hey,
updates.
thanks, Steve.
Oh, Steve's leaving. Oh, thanks a lot, Steve. Okay, listen to you. I have no updates from my monthly report. I don't know if anyone has any questions on it. One thing, I did get someone from Waterbury that applied for the girls coordinator position, so at some point I'm gonna call her in and interview her. So that would be great if I could get a woman to, she's actually a college student at Southern in the field of recreation. And yeah, so she just emailed me last week, so I told her I'd be in touch with an interview. So if I could get someone in, that would be fantastic. And right now, I've got no returning referees. They're all declining, so, which I kind of knew, because I haven't hired anyone. So,
I hear that's happening even with high school men's and women's, because referees don't want to wear a mask.
well, and I've purchased a couple electronic whistles, which are actually pretty cool, but it's gonna cost me about $400 to outfit them with it. But, you know, if that's what we have to do, that's what we have to do.
Right,
The other thing with the town now is all full-time and part-time employees have to submit their vaccination information or immunization information, and if they don't, then they're subject to weekly testing that has to get submitted. So that will trickle to all of my staff, which will also trickle to, you know, it's a lot. And there is also talk that possibly the coaches, because they're gonna be in the schools, will have to submit that paperwork also, which is gonna be an absolute nightmare to,
I'm a volunteer coach.
yeah.
For football, I had to show my vax card, fill out all the
Yeah,
attestations.
so if that comes down, that's just a tremendous amount of additional paperwork that's gonna have to be done, and I still haven't gotten final word on that, but it's turning into just a logistical nightmare,
You gotta
so
take three classes.
we did.
Yep.
So
I
I'm
just think,
I'm not sure how that's gonna work. Like, they still, the Board of Ed still hasn't said if they're gonna let bands in, you know, how that will work for that. I can't imagine if they're making coaches submit the forms that they're gonna really want us to bring in large amount
Right.
of people to the schools as bands, but I'm leaving that up to them, and I don't have to worry about that till January, because we're not gonna play games till then, but you know, there's just a lot of things with COVID that are still, because we're using school facilities, we're under a whole different, you know, set of guidelines than a town facility. So that kind of just add additional layers of things that have to be done. So I'll keep up with things as best as I can.
So how are you gonna solve the referee problem?
Well, like we're advertising, so I've had at least 3 people come in. So I think we'll have some interest. Our numbers are fairly low. I don't know what our leagues are gonna look like, so that might work out okay. Yeah, I mean, it's like with the lifeguard, you just try to, you hope you get people to apply and you do the best you can, and we'll try to run a couple clinics and, you know, train them as best we can. But you know what? People are gonna have to be understanding that. I mean, this is the world we're living in right now, so.
right,
but
right.
don't you think the referees, if they're paid by the town, they're actually considered a town employee, which
Right.
means they have to follow town employee protocol. So if if they need to be vaccinated, say the person's 17-year-old,
Right,
and they're not vaccinated, they can't ref.
every town employee, or they have to get weekly tested.
See,
which I'm not, I haven't really got clarification who's going to monitor that, and then, because I'm looking, I don't want to be responsible for that, but if someone else is responsible, how are they gonna get me the information? And then what happens if I have 3 people that I don't have a test result, and now I can't have games? I mean, it's gonna be a nightmare.
I believe in high school, the testing has to go back through the nursing department. I believe, I think it's, whoever is not vaxxed has to do the testing and
Yeah.
then submit it through the nurse.
Right, but I don't know how the town's gonna,
Right.
the questions are out there, and I've been in communication with the human resource director to try to figure, so she knows my concerns. She's trying to do the best that she can to try to figure it out on the town side, but she knows I have the most part-time staff also.
Has the town changed their mandates for new hires and that all new hires must prove that they're vaccinated before they can even apply for the position?
No, but I think it's the same paperwork, you prove you're vaccinated, or I think you can do the exemption on there, or you have to read a weekly test.
There's a lot of companies that are going in that direction, you can't even apply for a position unless you're vaccinated.
I know that she was waiting for some ruling from OSHA, and I think I saw in the news this morning, OSHA just sent something to the FDA or whoever
Right.
they're sending it to, so that will impact
All of us.
what we're
All
doing,
of us.
yeah.
And I think what I understand is they're going towards that rule of vaccination prior to employment.
Yeah,
That's what I heard.
it could be, and it's gonna affect everything. I mean, there's only so much you can do. If you don't have the staff, you can't run the programs. I mean, and we'll
Right.
do the best that we can, and I know a lot of the high school kids are vaccinated, so I'm hoping that, we get a good turnout to apply. And I know in in the summer, I bet you I had 90% were vaccinated, so that isn't as much of an issue, but like, as we get into these other layers about the coaches and assistant coaches,
Yeah.
and then what do you do if someone says, I'm not gonna do that, now we don't have coaches? I don't know, it's gonna be a tough, next couple months are pretty tough, trying to get all this stuff coordinated and get everything in place, but, do the best I can, and we'll just see what happens. So, but it is, we just found out about that last Thursday. They just started passing out the paperwork to everyone, so.
Well, we've certainly been through a lot in the last year and a half, and it's going to be another year of just uncharted territories. But hopefully, as people become more vaccinated, we're getting towards the end of it. But until it's all done, and it's going to be a long time, these things are always going to come up. It's a tracking nightmare. So, okay. Any further comments? Okay, dog park and leash ordinance update. I did send to every commissioner, Jen copied you and Steve as well. I had heard, 2 weeks ago, I went to the town council meeting. I requested, based on our memo that we sent July 29th to the ordinance committee, that they act at least on one part before, to meet and act on and implement a change in the ordinance to include that no animals are allowed within athletic facilities. And we had the definition of athletic facilities. They hadn't met since July. I said, there's more in our memo that we had sent to you. If you have questions on it, you can ask them. No one asked any questions. So my ask was act on at least that one part, and the dog park part you can discuss after the election, but please meet on this. There's been a number of complaints that Jen and Steve have received. Obviously, Commissioner was at Sage, and it was Greg a couple of weeks ago, and there was a dog that came across, and so, I told him we had a commissioner that also, there was a dog roaming across the soccer fields at Sage. So in any event, all of a sudden then I heard that there was going to be a meeting tonight, October 14th. Nothing was posted on the town though until yesterday, which is when they would have to post it. Prior to that, once I had heard that they were going to meet, and I looked at what the town had posted, I didn't see our memo as part of the package that the ordinance committee was looking at. So I followed up with Arosh. I forwarded you the email and his response back where he said that he does have copies of it and he's, you know, handing it out to them at this point tonight. So we're here. I don't know what they're discussing. I really don't know. It did seem all encompassing. Comments on Facebook by people that are involved in the dog park section of it. You know, we're supposedly going to come out. There are emails amongst that group being sent. I only know that because I have a friend that's involved. And they may be discussing a full leash law. That, you know, may be part of the discussion. So again, I don't know what's going on tonight. But if anybody has any other information, that's all I have. Okay. Right, so we'll find out. If I see anything, it is on YouTube. If anybody's interested, you can see it on YouTube. It should be posted sometime later tomorrow for their ordinance meeting, just like this meeting. So, okay, fee schedule 2022. Jen?
All right, so I'll start with the field ones. Per our agreement or per the recommendation for you guys a couple years ago, when we changed our field fees to an hourly rate, you guys had asked us to alternate every year which ones go up.
Yep.
So this year we are on local rates going up to $20 an hour. And we put that in basically as a change. And then that was it for fields. Lights we're gonna keep the same because we upped them last year and we changed the format from them last year, so. That was really it. That's the only change, is updating the local. And just so you know, we are still, most of the other towns are $25 an hour for local. So we're still, you know, under what other towns are charging.
Any questions, comments from the commissioners?
And then Debbie had a couple.
Yes, I just have a couple,
I'm sorry, can I just, before Debbie's part goes on, so I saw you had eliminated the resident men's nightly fee, you know, if it was just a single person or, I'm sorry, you didn't come through.
Debbie's
Say
gonna
it
talk
again.
about Debbie's gonna talk about her fees, which is what you're asking about.
right.
Right.
Okay, so the fees are actually, Jen had mixed up the two fees. For the winter basketball for the men, the season is currently $65, but I'm upping it to $85.
Yeah, I got that. Yeah.
And then, well, it was mixed on here, and then 85 to 105 for the non-residents. I'm proposing to eliminate the nightly fee for the men's basketball and women's volleyball, because we generally, there are some nights when I'm paying someone to sit in that gym and 2 people show up. So I want to treat these like we treat other programs, where if you want to participate in men's basketball, it's like if you want to participate in yoga, then you pay the cost to participate for the 13 weeks. You go to as many as you want, but at least the town is getting the revenue in. It still doesn't guarantee the person having a lot of people there, but I assume if people pay that fee, they're gonna make more of a commitment to go. And then it also eliminates having to collect money, which in this day and age, we're trying to eliminate that type of thing as much as possible. So I want the programs to be more of a true program than a drop-in program.
Okay.
The reason for the difference is the men's basketball runs 2.5 hours a night and women's volleyball is 1.5. So that's why men's basketball is a little bit higher for the rate.
Yeah.
And this is going to be another question mark. I'm not sure how we're going to have to handle this, because these people are going to be in the school, even though it's a program. If it's an adult program, if they're going to require vaccination, all of that is it's kind of up in the air and a question mark at this point. But that's why I was looking to kind of change those and put those more in line to.
Okay, thanks. Got it. That makes sense. Thank you. Okay.
And just a small increase on the summer program and junior staff, just to try to keep up with all the increases that we've been having. It's been really hard for me to, there's no way for me to say we're definitely not covering our costs right now because of COVID. But we're trying to keep an increase so that we don't have to have a big increase all of a sudden, so I think that's okay, and I'm not recommending, I heard a lot of, a lot of people were upset with the fees for the pools, so I'm not recommending an increase this year, we'll just let that go, and, hopefully that'll be okay, but that's why I didn't increase those, so.
And also, since this has been sent out, we're looking to add one more fee. So currently, when a youth group rents a field, they pay $105 deposit at the beginning of the season. With that deposit, they get a key for whatever field they may need or whatever. So at the end of the year, if Berlin Youth Football does not give back their key, then they don't get their $105 deposit back. So we wanted to implement something where if someone other than a youth group, such as Board of Ed, such as an outside group, needs a key for something, that there's a deposit form on file. Right now, we don't really have anything in place, so we just want to have a $50 deposit. So if Tony from the Boosters, let's for sake of an argument, needs a key to the concession stand, he's going to come in, he's going to fill out a form, give us $50 deposit, we're going to give Tony a key. Tony's not going to get that deposit back until he returns the key after the event based on the time we agreed on. We recently had an issue where a Board of Ed member took a key to one of our buildings and lost it. And we didn't have anything in place at the time, so we just want to make sure moving forward, we have something in place that's going to hold some accountability, have some accountability in place. So it's just a $50 key, we're calling it a field facility use key deposit for $50.
Okay.
And that's all the fee changes we have.
Any comments or questions from the commissioners, other commissioners?
Dropping person from dropping in, and then your staff telling them, well, you can't come in for the night, you gotta buy a season pass. Is that?
They can always go online and purchase a pass if they really wanted to be there, but yeah, they're just gonna have to turn people away. I mean, it's, yeah, I mean, they're such a hassle right now, and these guys, most of the people, we didn't do it last year, but most of the people in our program are non-residents, and they wanna pay the cheapest rate, and they hassle the person, and they're not gonna confront people, so I'm trying to eliminate that, and get that out of their hands and say, like, if you wanna do it, you go online and you register for us.
Yeah.
It'll be, it'll be kind of, I think women's volleyball is not gonna have a problem, I think they would rather do that, because the fee I was wanted to charge for a daily rate was getting so high. I mean, men's basketball, that's just, no matter what we do, it's an issue, but this way, that person doesn't have any money, and I think that's just the safest thing at this point, is to get the money out of their hands. So, I mean, the thing is gonna be, if you have an issue with someone, then call the police, that's what we've always told them that, so we'll see what happens.
Okay. Anything else?
You don't have to vote on fees, we just kind of need a generalized support so we can move them forward to the finance director and move them to town council.
I support it. Don, are you okay with it?
I'm okay.
Greg? Andrew?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, I'm
okay.
good.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Okay.
Community
All right.
center.
Community senior update. Jen's there as well, so I'll give you the update. We've had 2 meetings thus far. The last one was beginning of October. I thought it was a much better meeting run than the previous meeting. There was consensus on where we are to go at this point for visiting other sites, and since then, Brendan Luddy, the chair, myself, Tina Doyle from the staff went and visited Bloomfield. We were up earlier this week to the Bloomfield Senior Community Center. Well worth the trip. A lot of things, a lot of lessons learned that they were very open about, and there are a lot of lessons learned. It's a different type of center. There is no pool. They have a huge gym. Think of the high school A gym, maybe not as wide, but probably maybe 1 1.25 times the size of the A gym as far as length, maybe even longer. Enough to put 3 pickle courts in, 3 basketball courts in. So if anybody's done AAU basketball, you go to these sites, they put the screen down in between each of the basketball courts. They could run 3 basketball games at the same time, and they have benches going along. That same court during the day is turned into pickleball courts or other types of events, volleyball, etc. Pickleball is extremely popular. There was a lot of good support for why you might want to have a gym included in any senior and community center. The reason why they didn't put a pool in was at the time they were doing it, they wanted to cut the cost. They came in at budget. It's 56,000 square feet. It was 22.3 million. Tom Arcari, our architect, was not the architect for this building. I will tell you that this building, it's nice, but it's a square concept. So you walk into one main hallway, senior services is there in the beginning. You go on at the back end is what they call leisure services, which is their park and rec. Upstairs is youth and social services. But as you go in, you go down the hallway, you could take 2 hallways. So it's a square concept, and you go directly to the gym on the far right-hand side. In between is a courtyard, which is never used. We should never do a courtyard. And think of the high school. The high school has a courtyard too. There's no airflow in the courtyard. They don't have their rooms coming, although they're on each wall. There's no opening for any of the rooms to extend into the outdoor courtyard. It was not, really well designed. Again, it's a great facility, but the design features and the issues that they have, there's quite a few lessons learned. So I think Brendan, myself, and Tina were very, very thankful for all the information that we got from the staff, who spent about an hour and a half of their time with us. And it was 22.3 million. They came under budget. So they put in irrigation system around their building on the outside. That was decided by others outside of this building committee that they had. And they have also 3 soccer fields. It's a huge facility. And the 22.3 million included demolition costs of a 90,000 square foot junior high school, which was the home of their leisure services and senior services before. So our cost of 35.7 doesn't look totally out of line, unlike some people may have thought. And again, you don't know until you start building it. And of course, costs have gone up since. They actually moved in 2019. When I compare our design, it just seems that Tom Arcari has put together a design that's more efficient with space. We don't have that square concept. We have the open gym. That was one of the things that the leisure services said, if we could do it over, we would definitely put our offices even overseeing the gym. Again, they don't have a pool, but if you think about it, at least Tom Arcari put our park and rec offices on the backside as you walk on down on the lower floor where the pool and the gym is currently designed. So it was just our first place. Jen, the one open question, which we didn't get an answer to, and I wanted to send an email to Dave, head of leisure services. So if you could send me his email, that'd be great.
Okay.
And that was how they funded the 22.3 million. He's the one that knows that. It's
Okay.
just that he had to run to a meeting, so we weren't able to follow up on that. I will tell you though that the one thing that I did ask in our last meeting, which has not been done, at least officially, is based on our meeting schedule. We've agreed to a meeting schedule of once a month at this point in time, with special meetings to be called for when appropriate. So our next meeting is November 4th. In between now and then, we're headed to Newtown and also to Mansfield and Glastonbury. Those are scheduled for the 25th or 26th and 27th of October. So we meet November 4th is probably the next meeting that we're going to have. And then there's another meeting in December, another meeting in January, another meeting in February. But based on that schedule, I said it's very clear, and I made this point during our last meeting, that we're not going to meet a spring or April referendum, which was really part of our task. It's the first point in our task. So I asked Brendan to report back to their town, to the town council, that fact, because if we don't do the April referendum, that cost, at least the initial cost of 37.5 million coming from an independent cost estimator that Tom Arcari has, is at risk because that's based on summer of 2022 build. And so we need to notify, and it's only fair to the council who put the, or approved the task list that I put together, that we tell them we're not going to meet it. Well, I was at that council meeting 2 weeks ago, and it wasn't brought up. In fact, the mayor spoke and said, and he since put out a video on Facebook talking about the fact that we're working towards an April or spring referendum, and that we will be doing something. And he's been pretty clear about saying, and a pool would definitely be moved forward with, whatever that means. But the fact is, this advisory committee is not currently meeting enough to do that. So I did ask our chairperson after the town council meeting, and I followed up with him on Monday when we met at Bloomfield, to go back to the mayor and to the entire town council now and let them know. And that should be cleared up, because there should be no false thoughts, because in the end, after the election, it will be known. We're not going to meet April. So why did people even say that? They should know better. So no one should be at blame for that. And we need to communicate very clearly. I'm hopeful that Brendan will do that, and I'll follow up with him at some point in the future, but we'll see. Any questions, comments? Jen, anything else to add?
No, I think you covered it all. Like I said, we got 3 other site visits coming up, and then our next meeting, we'll review all of them.
Hey, Don, are you taking pictures by chance of the locations that you're seeing?
So, it's like you need someone else there to do it, because quite frankly, it was great. They were so thankful. I started taking a video, and even Brendan did as well. And as we move though, you're trying to ask questions, you're trying to write down notes, and you can't keep taking pictures. So very little was done. I will tell you though, I had done a lot of research before going to Bloomfield, and I've done it for Newtown, probably more to do for Mansfield and Glastonbury, but there's a lot online. So I sent to those that were going. Dave Sear was going to attend as well, but I guess something came up, so he couldn't. But I did send. We have their operating budget. We have their costs. We have their design. And so there's a schematic of it. I can't find a video of the place, even through the architect.
Yeah.
But it's a nice facility, but there's certainly things that we can improve upon, I think, for ours. And I think Tom has done a pretty damn good job doing so at this point. So, your answer is no. It's like we need someone else there to do that.
Because I understand the Newtown facility is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah. Jen has been to Bloomfield as well before. She went with the Roche and Tina and Debbie. Debbie, you've been there too, right? So
Yeah, it's a nice facility.
It's nice.
Newtown,
It's
right?
big.
No,
Bloomfield.
Bloomfield, what's Bloomfield,
I
yeah.
haven't been to
I
Newtown.
heard Newtown's gorgeous.
Debbie's going to Newtown. Debbie and Tina are both going to Newtown.
yeah,
Well,
they
maybe
did not put a pool in because of cost. And at
Right.
that time, it was interesting. I said, well, what was the cost? 4 million. I said, oh, that's interesting. Our architect now says, including our costs, is 8, maybe 10 million, but 8. He's saying 8. So in in a few years, couple of years, it's doubled. So
Right.
it's kind of
Okay.
interesting. But, you know, the high school goes to Windsor for their meets and things like that, so.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay, can I just ask that we go back to John's initial request, right? So we took care of the basketball courts and the tennis courts. Was there any further items that we should be discussing? I mean, I really think that if I could ask that, you know, Jen, if you could pen some type of letter just to John, just saying, you know, we, from the town's perspective or Park and Rec Commission's perspective, you know, we need to make sure that the courts, basketball and tennis courts are protected as well as the track. You know, we've spent a lot of money on that, and then noise, that we believe the neighbors should be communicated with, if that hasn't been done already. That's my only suggestion.
Yeah, like
Any-
I had already warned John about the noise complaints that he may receive, and I know planning and zoning talked about it as well, so he's well aware of everything going on there. It would be planning and zoning's decision, I think, if they were gonna send something out to the neighbors, so if they haven't done that, then that's, you know, on them, I guess. I'm not sure how that works.
Well,
I've already
you know
talked,
what,
I've already talked to John about no vehicles on the track. He fully understands that, so. In my email, I'll
So,
definitely
Jen-
stress the importance of keeping the basketball court and tennis courts protected as well.
All right, so Jen, thank you.
Well,
I'm
hold
glad
on,
you
hold
talked
on,
to him
hold
about
on.
that.
Hold
So-
on, I can speak on what we said at planning and zoning.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you, Andrew.
What,
Thank you.
what we said at planning is, I was sitting alternate at planning and zoning when we gave this. We expressly said to them, you've got to go to the neighbors and let them know this is happening.
Yeah.
Okay, because the last thing you're gonna want is them calling us, Parks and Rec, whoever, and yelling about it and saying, oh, it's our fault. Because we're just gonna turn around and say, no, talk to Board of Ed. This is on Board of Ed. So Board of Ed wanted this. We told Board of Ed, you have to get this done. The school has to do X, Y, and Z for the folks that live on Brandigee, that live on Overhill, which is my street, and Patterson, as well as the areas in back and on the sides, because quite frankly, you know, you just don't want it to blow up. And as soon as you say it's for the kids, it's not a big bloody deal. You know what I mean? So most people understand, oh, if it's for the kids, we could survive until 9. And that was pretty much the idea and the consensus that, you know, it's early, it doesn't go till way late. But there are some people that do sleep during that time. And it is nice to have a heads up. So we did tell them, you know, at least give them a heads up, at least, you know, send a notice or something. Whether they do that or not is completely now up to them. So, and it was also mentioned by Donna, our chair, today. So, I mean, they've been I consider them now doubly warned.
Okay, does anyone think that anything should be in writing? What do the commissions think?
Writing to who?
Just a memo to John saying, hey, based on our discussions tonight, you know, we just want to reiterate. Take care of the course, take care of the track.
Well, yeah,
I mean, let the
absolutely.
neighbors know.
I agree. I thought you said you asked Jen to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not gonna be an official memo. I was just gonna email John and say, hey, they've, you know, approved that you can close down the basketball courts and the tennis courts. They'd like to reiterate their position on, you know, reiterate and agree with the P and Z commission of, you know, letting the neighbors know and everything, and remember to protect their track. Like I said, it's all things we're just kind of reiterating, which is what I would tell him in my email tomorrow anyway. If you want something more formal and you want to write it, I can give it to him, but.
Jen,
No,
real quick, speaking as my capacity as a P&Z commissioner, alternate commissioner, I could also say that they were talking about having, as far as trash pickup is concerned, they're saying that they were going to clean up the day after. So just letting you know that they did not tell our commission that today. They told my commission that last week when
And
they
John
came to
has-
us for the
And
thing. They said though that they're going to have trash barrels and everything like that, but you know how kids are.
No, in terms of trash, they've worked that out with Steve Wood from the grounds department, so that's his territory, and I know he's been in constant contact with John about that.
Oh, fantastic. Thanks, Steve.
Who's counsel? I'm sorry.
He's security director.
That's what I thought, so why?
You know, go ahead, sorry. Did someone have another question?
Nope.
No,
Okay, thanks. So on trash, and you know what, I'll just tell you, there's a couple of friends of ours that live on the side along the fence on Brandegee Lane. And there are a couple of them that are probably the complaints for the basketball courts and trash. Because it
Yeah.
goes up against the fence. So that's actually, Andrew, I never thought about. That's a great point. So,
Mhm.
you know, maybe Jen, you want to talk to Steve, make sure, you know, I mean, they should be picking up that night, not let it go till the next day, right?
Like I said, yeah, the trash pickup goes under the grounds department, and Steve has told me that he has worked it out with John, so I'm gonna, you know, Steve handles all the special events at the high school when it comes to, you know, extra barrels and trash and whether or not he has staff on, so I'm sure he's worked it out with John.
Okay, well, I mean, Steve's pretty good at that, so
Exactly,
from what I understand.
yeah.
Okay.
And from what I gathered at the last meeting last week, so.
All right, so Jen, you're gonna reiterate in the email to John, our summary of points that we want covered.
Yes,
And that he's worked with, and if you could just put in there, and as we understand it, you're working with Steve on the trash pickup.
Yep.
And, you know, again, to avoid neighborhood complaints. See, this is the issue for me, and maybe for our commissioners.
Well,
Although
my
P and Z
thing
might have a
is,
play,
Yeah.
P and Z might have a play, Board of Ed is running this thing, it's our parks.
Mhm.
And when push comes to shove, it's us that are responsible. People that run the parks, Park and Rec Department, Public Grounds Department, Park and Rec Commission. Just like facilities got involved at Sage, and maybe you could say facilities dropped the ball, but you know what? It's a black mark against all of us. And I really want for all of us to step up a little bit more, be a little more forceful, and just make people think a little bit more and help them along and hold them accountable. So that's what I'm trying to prevent here. I appreciate you putting an email out, follow up with John, and I'm sure everything will go right with more communication. And if there's any issues, please let us know beforehand.
So, with her saying that, is an email enough?
with John, I believe so, because then it's in writing.
Yeah.
John and I have been talking about this for a couple weeks now, as well as Steve Wood has been involved, as well as Doug Solik has been involved because of the electrical. From the moment this came to our attention, Steve and I looked at each other like, whoa, they don't realize how big of a thing this is, how many different departments this entails, how many different permits and, you know, permissions this entails. And when we told them they had to go to planning and zoning, it was kind of like, wow, they were blindsided by it. And we're like, no, this is something that involved, when I told them they had to do a field reservation request and, you know, they had to have permission to sell. I mean, it kind of hit them that, wow, this isn't something you can just throw together last minute. Thankfully, they were able to get everything done in the timeline that they had.
Well, they just look at it probably that this is, you know, they think of it as school property.
Exactly.
Rather than school event, you know, and they don't know the impact that it has.
I mean, the original request was to have it on Scalise, and that Scalise
Yeah,
was not
I'm
available
sure.
at that time, so that's why they resorted to this.
And you would be prepared to take any neighborhood calls and complaints then,
We always are.
Yeah.
We always do.
right?
we just lost
well, the only reservation I ever had last week, and I even told Joan this beforehand, and I don't know if they're registered or whatnot, but it could also be good to mention to Steve that to make sure that the trash barrels that they use make sure that if, say, God forbid, there's like a strong wind that night, you know how
Right,
October-
exactly.
the end of
Right.
October gets windy,
them.
you know? Hey, this is Connecticut.
will
I mean,
happen.
guys, come
Yeah,
on, it gets
Steve-
really, it gets really
Yeah,
windy.
I have confidence that Steve will take care of all of that. He's done it before.
Right,
Yeah,
but just, Jen,
Yeah.
because he's not on the call, to be fair to him, let him know.
Oh, absolutely.
Honestly, we think trash pickup should be done right after that thing is done. Don't wait till the next day. Can't wait. Get it done once the homecoming dance is over. You don't wait till the next day. So,
Or at the very least, do barrel sequestration inside, just bring them into the, into or at least underneath something, just secure them from being able to fall
Right.
over.
And I don't
But
know,
the
Steve,
contents-
Steve may even have staff on that night. I don't know. He's not
right,
here.
right. That's,
Okay,
see,
yeah,
that's, and you
This
know
may,
what?
this may be a total non-issue because he may even have staff on for the event.
Exactly. So find out, make
Yeah, I'll
sure
talk to him.
he knows and make sure you know how it's gonna be handled and you're comfortable and Steve's comfortable and you make us comfortable. Thank you. Okay. Anything else? Okay, hearing nothing. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
I
Second,
second it.
thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. If anything
All right.
comes up, just email me. I'm here in Utah.